2, 1.
7 things you probably didn't know you need to know. I'm Jamie East, and this is the Standout 7.
In the next 7 minutes or so, we'll look back at an incredible week that began with a new Prime Minister and ended with the death of Queen Elizabeth II. This is the Standout 7 from the Smart 7. Don't forget to hit the follow button to get your daily updates at 7 a.m.
7.
Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II died on Thursday the 8th of September 2022. Her death was reported by media organisations just after 6:30 p.m.
Normal programmes have been suspended because of the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. A statement issued by Buckingham Palace.
We have some very important news. Buckingham Palace has just announced that Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II has died.
A few moments ago, Buckingham Palace announced the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
So let's take a moment to reflect on that news.
New Prime Minister Liz Truss, who only met with the Queen on Tuesday morning as she was sworn in as PM, paid tribute to the long-serving monarch.
Queen Elizabeth II was the rock on which modern Britain was built. Our country has grown and flourished under her reign. Britain is the great country it is today because of her.
Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer also offered his condolences to the royal family and recognised her devotion to her role and the unique position she had in British life.
For the vast majority of us, the late Queen has been simply the Queen, the only Queen, above all else, our Queen.
As the nation begins an initial 10 days of mourning, flags are being flown at half-mast and preparations are underway for a royal funeral. There was a detailed plan prepared in the event that she died in Scotland, which includes a ceremonial procession along the Royal Mile in Edinburgh. The coffin will then be flown back to London, returning to Buckingham Palace in preparation for lying in state at the Palace of Westminster. There will follow a full state funeral, most likely at the end of the 10-day mourning period, which will be followed by a further 7 days of official mourning for the royal household. King Charles III will be formally appointed on Saturday following a meeting of the Privy Council chaired by Penny Mordaunt. He addressed the nation on Friday.
In a little over a week's time, we will come together as a nation, as a Commonwealth, and indeed a global community, to lay my beloved mother to rest. In our sorrow, let us remember and draw strength from the light of her example. On behalf of all my family, I can only offer the most sincere and heartfelt thanks for your condolences and support. And to my darling Mama, as you begin your last great journey to join my dear late Papa, I want simply to say this. Thank you.
6.
Tributes also flowed in from leaders around the world, with Brazilian President Bolsonaro declaring 3 days of mourning and statements from both US President Joe Biden and former Presidents Trump and Obama. Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon says Queen Elizabeth was a great constant and always performed her duties with dedication and fidelity.
Scotland loved, respected and admired her. And by all accounts, Her Majesty was really happier than when she was here in Scotland at her beloved Balmoral.
French President Emmanuel Macron described her as a kind-hearted queen who was a friend of France. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau recognised Her Majesty's steady grace and resolve in a complicated world.
Canada is in mourning. She was one of my favourite people in the world, and I will miss her so.
Ireland's Taoiseach Micheál Martin also paid tribute and expressed support for the British people and her family. Her historic visit to Ireland in 2011 was seen as a key moment in rebuilding Anglo-Irish relations.
Her commitment to and support for the Good Friday Agreement, reconciliation and mutual understanding was critical to advancing positive relations on these islands.
10 Downing Street's got a new resident, as Liz Truss has been confirmed as the new Conservative leader and Prime Minister, albeit with a smaller than expected total of 57% of the vote.
Rishi Sunak, 60,399. Liz Truss, 81,326. Therefore, I give notice that Liz Truss is elected as the leader of the Conservative and Unionist Party. We'll come up on Friday.
She faces a pretty bulging in-tray even before officially taking up the job. The Foreign Secretary, who many knew ahead of the leadership contest for her enthusiastic speech in 2014 about British cheese, will formally become Prime Minister later after visiting the Queen at Balmoral. Boris Johnson congratulated her on what he called her decisive win and urged Conservatives to get behind her 100%. In her acceptance speech on Monday, the 47-year-old signalled she's no plans to call an early general election and promised a bold plan to tackle some of the big challenges we're facing.
Thank you for putting your faith in me to lead our great Conservative Party, the greatest political party on earth. And we will deliver a great victory for the Conservative Party in 2024. Thank you. Thank you.
Tuesday saw Boris Johnson take to the podium one last time as he signed off on his 3 years in number 10 Downing Street. Did he use his final speech to the nation as a chance to apologise and set the record straight? Did he mention levelling up? What about those hospitals? Well, he did at least call on the Tory party to unite behind Liz Truss, but there was also an awful lot of waffle.
Well, this is it, folks. Thank you, everybody, for coming out so early this morning. We'll be in Balmoral to see Her Majesty the Queen, and the torch will finally be passed to the Pacific. Like Cincinnatus, I am returning to my plough, and I will be offering this government nothing around in future careers. Let me say that I am now like one of those booster rockets that has fulfilled. Thank you all very much. Thank you. And goodbye. Thank you.
God. Cheers, mate. His speech received mixed reviews, to put it mildly, with former Director of Communications at Downing Street, Alistair Campbell, particularly unimpressed.
He arrived in that building as a liar and a fantasist, and he's leaving it as a liar and a fantasist. I mean, the disconnect between the country that he was describing and the country that he has actually helped to preside over was enormous.
Still to come on the Standout 7, an update on the war in Ukraine, and trouble keeps mounting up for Trump. Right after this. Welcome back. Ukrainian troops continue to push hard in their new offensive against Russian forces. It appears they've already recaptured significant amounts of territory in the east and south. There was more good news too, as US Defence Secretary Lloyd Austin, at a meeting of defence ministers in Ramstein, Germany, announced a further round of support following on from last week's $2 billion aid package. President Zelensky hailed the efforts of the Ukrainian army in Kharkiv on Thursday evening.
In total, more than 1,000 square kilometers of our territory have been liberated since September 1st. I am grateful to everyone who made it happen. I am grateful to the army, intelligence officers, and special services for every Ukrainian flag that has been hoisted these days.
The investigation into former US President Trump's alleged mishandling of government documents took an alarming turn on Wednesday after the Washington Post revealed materials detailing a foreign country's nuclear secrets were found in his Mar-a-Lago home. Trump's Florida estate was raided by the FBI last month, where over 11,000 documents were recovered, which had been unlawfully removed from the White House. Now Donald's busy tying the Department of Justice in legal knots to slow the process down. But it gets worse. According to investigative reporter Carol Leonig, some of the materials were so highly classified, even the agents who seized them couldn't look at what they'd found.
One of the biggest alarm bells that begins ringing in investigators' ears after the August 8th search is that some of the records are records they can't look at. They don't have the classification. And that includes some of the senior most national security officials in the country.
Saturday night saw legendary rock band the Foo Fighters take to the stage at Wembley Stadium in a 6-hour tribute concert for their former drummer Taylor Hawkins, who passed away earlier this year. Eurovision star Sam Ryder swung by to perform alongside Queen in a star-studded lineup, although it was Taylor's son Shane who stole the show when he took over his dad's part in an incredible rendition of My Hero. And there wasn't a dry eye in the house when Dave Grohl made an emotional opening speech in memory of his late friend. Rest in peace, Taylor.
Sing and dance and laugh and cry and scream and make some noise so he could hear us right now.
This has been the Standout 7, the best of the week from the Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow 7 a.m. with the Sunday 7. Have a great rest of your weekend.